Good morning, everybody. This is Windy Wanders the City with your host, Paul, today. Today, we are in far northwest Chicago. The locals are calling this neighborhood Madison, Wisconsin. So, welcome in. We're looking at the Capitol House, or the Capitol building here in Madison. There is a farmer's market here today, and we will head up there. Their farmer's market, or the town square, is very neat. It's very old Germanic town here. But before we head up there, we're going to go out on the Monona Terrace. So the Monona Terrace, right? Madison sits here between two little lakes. There's a little isthmus between the two lakes, and there is a trail and a terrace here looking over one of the lakes. I think I'd be guessing. I know the two lakes are Monona and Mendota. So, howdy, Fuzzy. Sorry for the surprise. Mrs. Wanders is sleeping in, and I wanted to get out and walk around town. So as we look here, you'll be able to see the lake as I come across here. Madison's similar to Chicago. It's a very, very flat city. The Capitol building has a high point there. We will go up there in just a moment. I want us to get out so that we can get kind of a more panoramic view of the lake here. We are just up visiting some family and friends. Figured, yes. So I have been somebody who, I like the old buildings here. So we're looking again more back towards the city. I've been somebody who typically is happy with about 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. This is quite an elaborate entryway to get you out to the terrace. Looks like they're setting up for an event here. I would imagine this is definitely a place where people go have weddings and such quite commonly, or maybe it's a breakfast for a convention. You've got the little fountain over there as well. You're sharing my coffee with me this morning. It's very pretty. The lake is rather quiet this morning, so not much wind. I see a couple people out on their kayaks. Oh, and if you look down there, there's a little, looks like a rooftop or a sunken shed, but that's a jump for ski jumping. So they might put on a water show here or something certain times of the year. But we'll scan around the lake. I think over there, you probably can't see it. The camera's it's too far away, but you see the little dome up there. I think that's an old science building. And if not, I've just made things up, but you guys have gotten used to me making things up by now. Just very pleasant morning this morning. Oh, we've got a sign over here. Let's see if the sign helps us out. Again, if you're just joining us, we are in Madison, Wisconsin. Yeah, so we are this is Lake Monona. It looks like we've got reclaimed land. So if you see that you've got the causeway, so you've got cars traveling over that bridge there. I see a couple of fishermen out there. There's a park that kind of surrounds that other lake, or at least it's on this side of that other lake. I've been here before and running over in that area. but we'll head back down and visit the Capitol. Um, we're going to walk the town square today, and again, they're setting up for a food festival. Not a food festival, sorry, a farmer's market uh, in the downtown area. A little bit of public artwork here. I don't know if you can see, but it looks like there are little pine cones dangling off of very small metal lines. And the unicorn picture or the unicorn horn in the middle. Most everything we're going to see here today is rather old. I don't remember there being that much new construction here, but it's cool old buildings, right? So you've got that white building just has the look and feel of the 1970s with the black terraces. If I'm looking over there, I would absolutely guess that's a residential building. The same here with the brick building and the white patios they've got here. This looks like a governmental building. There is a crane down this direction, so there is new construction going up. I'm pretty sure that this terrace is um, uh, a civic park. Um, I don't know that it's private property. I think it is civic property. Madison, again, it's very, very Germanic. So we're going to see German names in many of these buildings, and the retail spaces are going to be Germanic, a lot of Germanic names in nature. It's a beer city. It's a college town. I remember when I was younger, uh, either Playboy or other magazines would always put out the top 10 party schools. Madison, Wisconsin was always one of the schools on the top 10 party schools. Uh, Now, that's not to mean that you didn't get a good education here, but I will say that they were definitely known for their their partying. There is so while we were looking at that lake there was a road below us. So you actually have to take a pedestrian bridge, or you have to cross at a light to actually get to the lake. And then there is a a walking, running bike path that follows the lake. As we go up this next street, we're going to see the city hall on one side and the municipal building on the other side. Now that throws me a little bit because I'm used to the municipal building and city hall being the same thing. But it might be that um, the mayor and the politicians are in one building, and the services like streets and sand and those kinds of things are in the other building. But right here we've got the Madison City Hall, and we are walking up to the Capitol building there. And on the other side of the street, we've got the municipal building. Large monolithic buildings that take up the whole block, right? So you can tell this is a government center as we head up the hill. Now the building on our left, it's titled the Justice Center, so I assume that there are courthouses in this building. It is the state capitol as well, so their legislative branches will be somewhere here in the city. I'm not really aware of where that is. So you've got the Risser Justice Center. To move a little bit further up, got a Starbucks here on the corner, Bel Air Cantina. Looks like Bel Air has neon signery. Of course, being early in the morning, neon doesn't really stand out and therefore isn't lit up. We'll see if there's any goods or tasties down here. I know plenty of people that have gone to this school, uh, had exceedingly good educations. The farmers market kind of loads up pretty quickly. You know what? Let's do this. I'll walk around one way on the outside of the square, and then I'll come back on the inside of the square. So we'll see the permanent structures and buildings here on the outside of the square first. I feel like I need to put in a meditation soundtrack. This always feels like peaceful to me to just kind of walk around and wander a city. It also makes it so I don't have to make up as many facts, but we all have our burdens to bear. My wife and I we had dinner in town and we had drinks. It was surprisingly affordable. So we're so used to Chicago prices. Um, this is interesting. So it looks like okay. So they've got a little outdoor presence for their coffee shop, and then a full service indoor location. So this is Wonder State Coffee. Seems to be popular. Last night we were at Jenna's, which is the corner bar right here, and being happy hour, I think that we had one drink each, and it might have been $10. Now, I was saying, growing up, that was very expensive, but these days, that's a that's such a price break for us coming from Chicago. I wonder. So I wonder if this is somehow the old post office, the Park Hotel now, and this little spot is called the Post. Yes, so Mad City is one of the nicknames. There is they have a 100K road race here, and it's very very flat, but it is called the uh, Mad City 100K. I like the storefronts that they've got here. They just it Madison's a large town for Wisconsin, but it looks very old timey and apothecary ish. So this is bread, charcuterie. Looks like a little deli in here. Fromage Nation. So we've kind of crested the hill. Now the Capitol building sits on the highest point in town. Uh, we've gone up a little bit from Monona Terrace, coming down. Got a large church ahead of us. This is a neat feature. So they've got a water feature here, and on each of the corners here, they'll have it. So the water comes out of these round elements and flows into here. But the edge of this, it's sort of like an infinity pool. So the edge closest to us is where the water comes off of this water feature and then falls down into the grate below us. That'll be interesting to see. I see the name of that is Fungi Farmers or Fungi Farmers. This is Grace Episcopal Church. It's an old block structure. Beautiful cathedral door here. Absolutely appears to be an active church. And I'm not sure, this might be, yeah, it's the free library, right? So the little library with a little mock-up church there. It's rather sizable church, and I don't know if they've got a school here as well, but it takes up about half the block, and it goes just as much deep on that process. So we'll scan back up. So from here to the corner, we've got that. The insurance company here with the 1950s Child's pedal car. One thing that I always feel, and it might be anecdotal, there are an awful lot of insurance companies here in Wisconsin, and it feels like every town here, right? A Shaw, there's a lot of Aukie, Milwaukee, Kewaukee, or Shaw or Awe in the names, and I don't know if that's why, but almost all of these towns are also insurance company towns as well. So coming off of each of the four corners, there's a diagonal street here in Madison. This one is State Street. You can see Mile Teddy Wedger's old time breakfast location. This is a place where you'll see, let's go down this one block and back up. I think this is an interesting street. You'll see a lot more oddities in regards, or uniqueness in regards to retail stores here. When we come back up the street, there's a bar on the other side that its claim to fame is that there is a tree growing inside of that bar. I think an old-timey cigarette store, gourmet popcorn. I forgot. They're not Bears fans here. They're Packers and Badgers. Badgers being the college town, and the Packers being the NFL football team here. Dueling piano bar. High crowd. That sounds like it's a dispensary of sorts. That's a good point. Historically, churches would have been known as rather conservative and non-heterogeneous combinations would not have been something that was tolerated. So it's gotten a little bit quieter down here as we've now gone a block away down this little diagonal street. I'm kind of taking advantage of this morning being rather slow. So we're crossing against the light. Please don't tell the police. An old theater. Yeah, I'm a person that loves nostalgia. So the idea that it's the old lit up signage, and then you've got the physical board that has to be changed all the time. But so this is Paul's Club. By the way, great name for a bar, I'm guessing. And you can see a little tree in the middle there. I don't know if we'll be able to see it too well. Yeah, there's too much reflection here, but there is a tree growing in the middle of this establishment. So it sits right in the middle of the bar. Ah, we'll have to look that up online and give you a picture. But now we'll head back up to the city center. Howdy, Nance. Sorry, we're doing a little impromptu. We are here in Madison, Wisconsin, Mad City. Uh, I opened by letting everybody know that we are in the farthest northwest Chicago suburb. Ooh, I like this. This art just looks interesting to me. There is a farmer's market going on here. Uh, Madison, Wisconsin is the capital of Madison, and the Capitol building is up in the middle of this square ahead of us. We've seen the dome a couple of times already. Kind of the street that we just walked down on the other side. Here's a little bakery, Michelangelo's, and it's a coffee shop. I'm told that is during school session, you're almost always going to see people in there with their textbooks wide open. Well, I guess nowadays it'd be their laptops wide open. It is one of the study places here in Madison, Wisconsin. So the University of Wisconsin-Madison is here. That is the Badgers, and they are a Big Ten school. Uh, most of the state Big Ten schools here are schools where your freshman courses, you're probably going to have 1,000 people in a history or an accounting class. Here we've just got some public artwork here. There's some unhoused people behind there, so I'll give them some grace. This is, Nance, the Wisconsin Veterans Museum. Last night I noticed that they have, I'm going to call it Omaha Beach, but I guess it would be more largely called D-Day. They've got a little D-Day model here, little baby onesies here. See some military models of planes and tanks. And then here is their D-Day exhibit. You know, it is just a movie, but just the intensity of Saving Private Ryan and knowing that's a movie and how intense that was, how those young boys must have felt on the actual day of. And I know that's a very sexist statement, but at that point in time, the military would have been comprised, especially the fighting military would have been comprised mostly of males. We're going to walk around the outside of this town square first, and then I'll walk around the inside where most of the food trucks are setting up. And it's not just food trucks, right? It's arts and crafts, farmers market. We're here on a Saturday morning. Last night, being a Friday, much more lively, although it was a little bit drizzly. So they did have some storms come through. We'll go back over to the State House, right above us, or the Capitol building. If we look down this street, and let me see if I can get you a name for this street. I can't, sorry. But that next hill as it rises over there is largely the college campus that starts down there. Oh, as I was saying earlier, these state schools are massive, right? 30 and 40,000 um, students a year. Typically, if you're in-state, you're getting a much cheaper price. But again, college is not the world's cheapest thing anymore versus the out-of-state. Um, the Big Ten schools, right? The name would have naturally come from the number of schools that were there, but now it's something like 14 schools. And rather than being clustered here in the Midwest, you've got the Terrapins, you've got the Nebraska. There's Nebraska is out there, which I'll say that that's still Midwest, but historically it would have been Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Illinois, Indiana, Illinois. Again, all of these buildings, a lot of ornate stonework in here. Um, you can tell it's an old town. And it's funny, as an American, we say old, that maybe we mean 150, 200 years. You've got, you know, right, 5,000-year-old civilizations in Northern Africa, and many of the civilizations in Europe are well over 1,000. I like we're going to go down this other side street once because last night we had a restaurant here and I want to give them some props. I thought it was amazing food. It's called The Heritage. We've got the Chop House here on the corner. And again, right, we're the seat of power of Wisconsin. So it's a place where lobbyists will come and there is plenty of upscale dining here. And right, you need to be able to take your politicians out for steak so you can slide them their envelope across the table. We're coming across again another older theater with the typical canopy, a little bit smaller of a vertical sign that we've got there. This restaurant that we're coming up on is called The Heritage. And if we've got a mod in there, it'd be awesome to see if we can find it. I will say it was excellent food last night. And the service, they fall over themselves to make sure you've got everything. They treated us to a complimentary dessert. That it's everything from Berkshire pork and schnitzel. We'll get a chance to look at the menu real quick here. Not sure if you'll be able to see through there, but the charcuterie boards are served on wood. Sorry, you're fine. You're fine. Are served on tree trunks, so they slice. You've got slices of. You're all good. Thanks. Slices of tree trunk that they serve that charcuterie on. The salad was phenomenal. I had the schnitzel with the Berkshire pork schnitzel. They have a massive pork chop here, and then the pork and tuna. Yeah. It's a spendy place, but yeah, if you're going to treat yourself, highly encourage you to be in there. Thank you so much, Fuzzy. Put that up there. Let me go back and capture a couple of those other ones that you were so kind to. Yeah, the Wisconsin Veterans Museum. I really liked what they had done there with the public display showing the D-Day landing and Michelangelo's Coffee House over on State Street there. So we are in Madison, Wisconsin this morning. Oh, Gotham, New York Bagels. Now, it doesn't look open, but I'm guessing that it doesn't look like there's a lot of residential in this area. It is the seat of power, so it's probably more of a weekday business location. So some of these restaurants might not open on the weekend, especially we're a little bit off of the city square here. We're coming back up the hill to the city square. We'll get another glimpse of the Capitol. Here we've got the Belmont Hotel, and you're seeing a little bit about the architecture. So this is back in 1923. that this building was built. Here is kind of where we're at. You can see that we're at the top of that diamond on the map with the state capitol in the middle. And it's definitely a geometric little area that's going on there. And as we saw earlier, right, all of the red buildings to the left is where the university is. The university overlooks Lake Mendota. We started this tour over on Lake Monona. It might be Monona, but I'm going to say Monona. And every time I say that, I just want to think about the old Muppets. Dun, dun, na, 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 Monona. Just like the signage here, right? I'm a fan of neon. Old fashioned is a very common drink in Germanic towns. Um, it historically, I think that they're coming back around, but typically the generations gone by were big fans of the old fashioned. Now it's not a novelty drink, but it's a hip and trendy drink. It's fun to watch people make cocktails. I wish that people would really understand the craftsmanship that goes into actually making a cocktail rather than just pouring something out of a bottle. This is one of the more modern buildings. I like the American Exchange Bank is right here, and it's a stone architecture. But what it caught my eye just before that, right, is the very massive glass structure here, and it definitely looks unique here amongst all of the older masonry buildings that we've got. We're about 3/4 of the way around the square. I'm going to take one more lap around the inside of the square, and we'll look past some of the farmers market stalls and the arts and crafts that are there on the inside. It's pretty interesting. So they're using an ambulance for advertising purposes for the Young Earth Farm. And then Love Food is behind it. This U.S. Bank is massive. It takes up basically the entire block, minus the sliver of a building here at the end, which is back again to masonry. Get a quick snapshot of the bus system here. Looks like we've got another coffee shop here on the corner or breakfast place. Got the little cow back here in the corner. Wisconsin has always been known as the dairy state, but strangely, they no longer are the largest dairy producers. California these days is America's largest California producer. So here we're at Collectivo Coffee. Again, I like this where they've got the outside small vendor shop and then you've got the inside full restaurant or full service. Like most large cities, there definitely is a noticeable unhoused population here. Ooh, just because of the perspective, I've got the sun behind me. So if we look up at the Capitol Dome, I'm not sure if it comes up on the camera just as well, but you've got the bright, shiny elements just off the statue below the peak of the dome. Fuzzy, we need to start an advertising firm. I'm gonna definitely wear out your fingertips as we walk to the inside, because it looks like there's um, these stalls seem to be pretty tight together, and they look like they line the entire inside square. I was going to say, I think that was one of the ways that I'd like to try and fund the channel, is see if I can get the local businesses um, or community areas to do funding so that we can, do special videos on some part of the neighborhood or some location in the area. Oh boy, this is going to be one of those places where I wish I had my wallet and a big bag. I am a cheese fiend. So mostly jams and plums. Land of O's. Ooh, look at the garlic and the greenery here. So garlic scapes. Lovely flowers here. Fellow with a little honey beehive on his head. Marsden's Pure Honey. Oh, okay, beeswax candles. Boy, I am still stuffed from last night, but I want to eat all of the stuffs. Rhubarb, I think, is something that's rare. I always remember my great grandmother would make us rhubarb pie, and the rhubarb grew right outside the house. So that was one of those things as a kid that you'd go ahead and pluck a stalk and kind of gnaw on it for a while. Here we've got Forgotten Valley cheese. And again, more vegetables. Ooh, kohlrabi. Not sure what kohlrabi is. What would kohlrabi be most like?
Well, it's like a water chestnut / like rutabaga.
Okay, very nice. And do you have a name for the stand?
My farm.
Honey? I'm sorry.
My farm out of Whitewater.
Okay, My Farm out of Whitewater. All right, thank you.
Yep.
That had the feel of gentleman farmer, and I've always liked that idea that, um, being a city person, but still the idea that you get to say, I've got a little plot of land someplace, and you're growing something or raising animals. Oh, last night, I want to talk a little bit more about the heritage. My wife had bouillabaisse, and it was phenomenal. So you've got the little tomato-based seafood dish. Hemphaven Farms. I'm sure that, again, you've got the cannabises here. All right, now this one I won't know much about. That this is Hans Christian Heg, the colonel of the 15th Wisconsin Volunteers, born in Norway, and he fell at Chickamauga, which Chickamauga I do recall as a battle. So going back to sorry to spin you around here. So we've got a gentleman here with the Quran, and they're giving it away for free. And if you're following me on the other channel, we know that that's a more common way to promote a religion. Ooh, cheesecakes. So with the bouillabaisse, they had a sourdough bread with that, and if you gave me a loaf of bread and just the broth of that bouillabaisse, I would have sopped it up all night long. Kind of want to let the crowd to get ahead of me here. So here we're seeing asparagus, mint. Looks like chives down at the end. Where I grew up in Southwest Chicago, um, there used to be truck farming there. All the truck farming eventually moved out to California by just after World War II. But asparagus is a plant that's really hard to get rid of, and it grows very, very fast. So what would happen when we were younger is any day after a rainstorm, my dad would load us all into the car, and we would travel the country roads, and you'd kind of go through the ditches. And asparagus has a very unique looking plant, and you'd know where it was, and you'd just go in there and grab yourself a couple of days worth of asparagus. And I was not a vegetable fan when I was a kid, but fresh asparagus and tender asparagus was something I really loved. Got a blueberry farm here, the Lutz family farm, Lutz. This looks kind of like an herb garden that they've got going here. Beautiful, nice and quiet here. Bakery from Origin Breads. Again, we're seeing the snap peas. Ooh, look at the size of those radishes. This is Love Food. Fuzzy, can you do me a favor? And it's a little bit easier for me to do it from home. Can you send me an email and remind me that I've got to put the email and the link tree as banners on this channel? I've got it set up for the other channel. I just don't have it set up for this channel. Very pretty. Again, we're coming across another honey farm. So this is Donna's Sweet Honey. I'm going to walk in a little bit. I just kind of, the stairwell caught my eye here. Now there's some construction going on here on the facade of the dome. I have no idea where or why this building exists. Is it only the governor's building? Is this also where the legislative offices are? Secretary of State, administrative offices. I just don't know enough about how or where the government of Wisconsin is housed. I just like the name of this, Ducks in a Row. And they've got the duck eggs. And then they also apparently they've got both organic food as well as organic meats, wool. Look at the cactus. One thing I'll say is that I'm not a green thumb person, but I love succulents and cactuses because you can really ignore them for a long time, and they'll come back in a heartbeat. Here we've got Kalana. So it looks like they're goat cheese. Stanky's popcorn. I like the little dispensary, right? So you can taste each of the flavors they've got here. We are in Madison, Wisconsin this morning, and we're at the farmers market. So somebody likes what's going on here. Chris and Lori's Bakehouse. Uh, Let me back up a little bit to give you a better perspective of that line. So these people right here are the back of the line for the Chris and Lori Bakehouse. Kind of let the crowd come past me a bit so I can switch over. Looks like all kinds of scones. Rhubarb scone. Now we're coming back to a bakery where it looks like we've got artisanal breads out here. Asiago, French, pretzel, marbled. Just some beautiful vegetables out here on display. Try and get out of the crowd that we've got going on here. Let's see if I can change the perspective a little bit, put this up in the air. Otherwise, I just realized that I'm showing you the back of everybody's head.
Okay, and then
some microgreens here. Another florist. And we end this street with, again, another farmer's market. Boy, rhubarb is a big thing up here. Got a military monument here. We'll take a little bit of a walk around here.
You want to sit over here?
So, okay, so this looks to be the law enforcement, not military.
Sure. No, I don't.
I like the signage here for Rockwell Ridge Farm. Looks like they're mostly baked goods here.
Have a good day.
Flight Family Farm.
I think. Oh yeah, those are the ones.
See if I can get you up in the air again. So I've got a toffee stand. Frozen sweet corn.
Yeah.
Morning, sure. Make sure you take a good picture of that Bloody Mary party there with my meat.
Nice.
Thank you.
So there are certain places, and I'm from Chicago, and I love when people, everything you can in the Bloody Mary, right? So you get a meal with your Bloody Mary. Coming past a couple of honey farms. Some mushrooms, Indian farm mushroom, with some shiitakes.
Excuse me.
Oyster mushrooms. This one I've never seen before, the lion's mane. I've heard of that. So I've had this before. I did not know what that looked like in its natural state. little hot sauce element. Bakery. Little egg tarts here, or quiche. Some croissant. We're about halfway around the inside of the area. Got a creamery here. It looks like they're doing ice creams or yogurts. Oh, so a farmer's cheese. So a lot of aioli um, and soft cheeses at that stand there. Yes. I will tell you that when I come back here with the wife a little later, uh, we're going to do the one of each. So here they've pickled the asparagus. Another florist. Get another shot here at the Capitol building. And again, I'm trying to let the crowds get by us a bit. Beef stick. Remember, the Germans are going to stuff anything they can in a casing. So sausages are right up the alley of most Germans. So, and historically, it would have been veal, pork, beef, goats, lamb. Everything is a candidate to go in a sausage. Howdy, Nance. How are you today? We're up in Madison, Wisconsin this morning. Looked like you guys had fun at the Titanic Museum last night.
Fort Barry, right?
Or Titanic show.
Are they gonna split it?
Oh, look at all the wool that you've got here from their animal. I always remember. I don't remember what movie it was, but they were talking about how you have to very carefully fleece the people. It was a criminal, like whether it was you were pickpockets or otherwise, but they could you could shear a sheep many times, but you can only slaughter it once. Here we've got again cheese breads, so bakery. Goat milk soap. So, do you eat the soap or do you wash with the soap? Got another statue up here I'll get a shot at real quick. I think if I put the camera up there, you'll get the sun like crazy. We'll see what happens. But here is Wisconsin's Women's Memorial. Not sure if you're going to get that too well. Here we've got Renaissance Farm. We're a little over halfway. I'll wait until the crowd comes by here real quick. So again, we're looking down State Street. We walked down that a little bit earlier, and that's where we saw Paul's Club with the tree in the middle, Michelangelo's coffee shop. The beets. I love the orange ones there, or I guess they're calling them golden beets. Stupid good cheese. I like the advertising. Stupid good. So it's the Bluemont Dairy. More beans. They're touting pesticide free. Got the golden beets again. Some green onion. Some fingerling potatoes here. We've got quite the backup ahead of us right now. So now we've got Spring Fawn Gardens.
I have some gold tomatoes too.
I'm going to take a little bit of a tour over here. All right. I think that the grass is available. So to avoid the crowds a little bit more, we'll stand back a little bit.
Oh, and a bag.
They've got some dried greenery, some herbs here. Now we're seeing, earlier we saw the Episcopal Church. We're seeing it from a little bit further back, the perspective. Some kale. Yep. So we're in Madison, Wisconsin. They I think it's every Saturday in the summer they'll do this farmers market, and again farmers market for the most part, but also there were some arts and crafts stalls here as well. Go back over the fence here. Got another mushroom stand here. Growing up, one of my best friends in high school, his family was the family mushroom farmers. And if you know anything about how mushrooms are grown, he was an odoriferous fella. Oh, but he was just strong as an ox. And again, most farmers are freakishly strong because they do such practical movements of their body. And it's just always interesting to see, an old farmer giving you a handshake, and it's like he could squeeze you to death if he wanted to. Pies and scones. See the sauce here. So it looks like they're making all kinds of hot sauces. And unfortunately, I am a white male, and I have the palate of a white male. I can't do spice very well at all. I like the name Nito's. So Nito's Bake Shop. They're out of Baraboo, Wisconsin, which Baraboo is interesting. Baraboo was the summer home of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. And if you go there, they still have a circus museum there in Baraboo. It's just south of the Dells. The Dells is, again, a little bit more, it's the family vacation spot in the Midwest. Noble Elk Farm. Looks like they've got a lot of antler here. And then, if you want to, you can order elk meats. Elk's a very lean meat, definitely not as gamey, and especially if they're farm raised, as you get out of the traditional white-tailed deer.
Terry.
These are interesting gourds. I like it. He's the gourd guy.
Yeah, they're having trouble with it.
How is it for Gordon?
Are we back to mushrooms? Yeah, so golden oyster mushroom.
I guess I can't complain. I thought they were big enough.
Each of the bags is filled with some form of. Looks like these are all oyster mushrooms. Some more plants. I like the little purple one in here with the spiky sphere. I'm not sure if that's the botanical name, but we're going to call it the spiky sphere plant. Curious Farmer. And we're just about, oh, it's fun. So I don't want to put it on the channel, but there are some interesting political signage and crack pottery over here. Ooh, look at the size of the mushrooms here. So Nance mentioned New Glarus, and I'm not sure if she's still here, but New Glarus is an interesting. It's kind of an icon here in Wisconsin. They don't pasteurize their beer, so it's you can't buy New Glarus beer unless you come to Wisconsin. Usually, it's one of those things that if you're a fan of it and you know one of your friends is going to Wisconsin, it's almost always, hey, bring me back some New Glarus. And if you're ever up in New Glarus, they have a beautiful little brew house and pub there. Are you a spotted cow, Nance? Or are you, what is it, Moon? Is it Moon Man or Moon Mama? Is one of the other ones that's very, but spotted cow I think is the most common one. Okay, Moon, yeah, it was Moon Man. And I think, I think they have one that has squirrel in it as well. This is Mount Horeb, Wisconsin, which this is one of those places that has a house that defies gravity or seems to defy gravity up there in Mount Horeb. It's actually really Spring Green, Wisconsin, but the signage or the neighbors, the towns are very close to one another. What a pile of radishes. Oops. See if we can pop out of this crowd real quick. All right. I'm going to take us back down to the Monona Terrace. Go across the street here. Yeah, fat squirrel. So I might need to bring some of that back for the other channel. I'm a big fan of old buildings, and you can see architectural signature or else retail signatures, those top elements, the G, and then on the other building it's an M and a C. Those most likely would have been whoever the original retailer was that would have built that. Ooh, I hear me a fiddle. What's the difference between a violin and a fiddle? We're going to walk back down here to, again, last night I told you we went to Gemma's to start the evening, and we ended up over at the Heritage for our dinner. Another shot of the Episcopal Church there off the center. Uh, the Germans were not, and again, this is a hasty generalization, the Germans were mostly Protestant religions, more so the Catholic religions. Uh, the Holy Roman Empire kind of started out of the German-Austrian realm. If you go down this street off the center, um, you're going to fall into a residential neighborhood and old stick buildings down there. Ahead of me, you can maybe see the lake poking out there. We're going to walk down to the lakefront, and we'll close where we started on Monona Terrace. So, folks, if you're new to the channel, was it Fuzzy? You'll have to remind me. I think it was Wednesday evening. We toured the Brown Line of Chicago, right? The Brown Line being the CTA, one of the CTA lines. So there are 6 different colored CTA trains in Chicago. The Brown Line goes around the city center and then moves up north and west, a little bit higher than the highway. The Blue Line follows the highway out of town, and then north of that to service the neighborhoods north of that, you've got the Brown Line. And we basically walked, cannot tell if that person has a stoplight or not. I can't tell if you've got a stoplight. the bus driver is frustrated at me because I didn't go quickly. Sorry, as I was saying, the Brown Line, we went from Lincoln Square all the way to its terminal point. We pointed out, we saw parts of the Berlin Wall. We saw some of the pumping stations. We saw 2 of the more traditional architectural homes, styles of homes, being the bungalow and the Dutch Colonial Revival. What else did we see? We were along the river several times. We saw a couple of pumping stations, which would be both to create the water pressure for the city of Chicago, as well as to treat the water for the city of Chicago. And typically, we'll just do neighborhoods of the city or features of the city. Love all the gold on this door frame. I'll walk over and we'll see if we can get a view of that. So this is Wisconsin's Department of Health and Human Services. Just like the ornate detail of the building here. Yes, as I was saying, and I found that I start a lot of conversations, but I don't always feel like I finish a lot of conversations. We do a lot of tours of neighborhoods, and I do the live tours just to let people interact with us. And then I'll go and curate. I'll take the footage that we've collected, and I will create stories, and we'll put up more curated video for those of you that don't want to hear all of my interesting facts as we walk around cities and towns. Looks like there's a little bit of weather to the north. Let's see, that is east. So to the south of us, looks like there's a little bit of weather today. When we were on the terrace earlier, right, I showed you the brick building with the white balconies. So this is that same building. It's called the Townhouse. And then the next building we'll see is in fact, that white building, which had the balconies as well. And it absolutely looks residential. You can definitely see, again, I always say that because I get to use my eyes. You have to look through the camera. Not sure if it's big enough or small enough, but you see the houses down here. Most of what we're seeing here is stick-built housing, so not much masonry. I can see this closest one to us. Its foundation looked to have been block stone. So they would have gathered a large amount of rock to build the foundation, and then the home on top of it would be stick-built. The third one in looks to be traditional brick masonry. Yeah. So I will tell you that I used to be very, very good at trivia games, and everybody's like, wow, that's got to be amazing. It's like, there's no value in being good at trivia games. Unless somebody calls me for a game show, I'm not going to be able to make money out of this. But it always was let's get Paul, he'll know. Oh, I love this home right here. Looks like it's the Wisconsin Society of Architects. And so as a kid, I loved reading the signs. Like when I go to the museum, I wasn't there just to press the button. I kind of wanted to know what was going on there. And I think it served me well later in life in that even though I might not know precisely what something is, I have a good idea because of all the things that I've seen and or done to hypothesize or guess what something might be. So we're coming down to I think this is Highway 51, it might be Highway 18, mostly irrelevant, but this is kind of the thoroughfare that allows you to go through the city of Madison, mostly on the outskirts, and it hugs the lakes. The Capitol building that we would have seen back there, right, it sits in between the two lakes of Monona and Mendota. All right, I think I've landlocked myself in here. I'll see if I can walk out. I don't think I can. You've got the lake. I can't really cross these tracks. I don't want to. I will tell you that railroad companies are some of the most litigious in the world. But you've got Lake Monona over here, the larger of the two lakes. You can see a few people running underneath the tree there. So there's a path that allows you to go through there. Earlier we started on that overhang terrace, so that where the road goes underneath that terrace, that's where we started. I'm going to see if we can work our way back to it. I've got to figure out how I can. I'm going to have to go up the block. So this is Nolan Shore, residential. And again, this is more modern, but when I say modern, 1970s rather than 1870s, which a lot of these buildings will have been. Right. Here we're seeing a home that I'm sure has been here for a long time. Thank you, Nance. So earlier, right, I said, and I'm going to go on this person's property a little bit, I think you can see back through there. So between the greenery and below the white, you see the dark. That's going to be a quarried stone. And right, as we know, foundations should be strongly built. And that stone is going to be much more durable and able to interact with the land than any kind of wood would be. So where you're going to meet the earth, you want to try and use a much more durable material. You can see it even more here, right? So we've got the foundation, and then the house sits on top of the foundation. It's very quaint, very old-timey. See a woman across the street there walking her dog, and she's basically got a house robe on. These are neighborhoods, and we talked about it when we were walking through the neighborhoods on the Brown Line. These neighborhoods where you've got front porches, people actually just have conversations across the street from their front porches. Um, that's kind of how neighborhoods grow, and you get to know the people in your neighborhood. We can obviously see where I'm on the sidewalk, and then we've got a bike path next to us. I want to get down to the lake so that we can walk along the lake back to that Monona Terrace. Again, Madison is a college town, so one thing that happens somewhat consistently in college towns is many of these houses, they'll have been generationally owned, and rather than sell the house, they become rental properties. So the people that don't want to live on campus will rent these houses and apartments. You were always the cooler kid if you were able to have your house party off campus rather than in the dorms, where you weren't underneath the inspection of the RAs and college security. Here we've got Spanish tile roof. So something that in my younger days, I used to be a roofer. And by the way, I learned how to do roofing over Christmas break. Absolute worst time to figure out how to be a roofer because it is cold in the winter. But anyhow, the buildings over here, they have the asphalt shingle. And an asphalt shingle is usually a 15 to 20 year shingle. So you've got to replace it or add another layer every 15 to 30 years. The Spanish tile that I just showed you, that's an 80-year roof to a 100-year roof. That these last they're incredibly expensive, but they're incredibly durable. I spent a year of my youth in Boston, Massachusetts, where a craftsman taught me how to do slate roofs. And slate roofs are very challenging because they, again, are a stone material. They're very heavy. They're another 80 to 100-year roof model, but they take a skill in order to hang them. Most people think that those are tight to the building, but they're actually loose on the nails, and they hang on the roof rather than are attached or affixed to the roof. And you've got to dog the ears of them. I am very much hoping that path has some shade. As you go back this direction, you'll see much more park space or open land along the lake. Again, in the city center, we've got all of that, the government buildings that are in there. So it is not open space the same way. The lake looks beautiful today. There's no real wind, no boats causing any wakes. I can definitely see some folks out there fishing. This lake has rivers coming in. It's fed by rivers, and the water exits by river. Eventually, this makes it to the Wisconsin River, and the Wisconsin then flows down to the Mississippi River. I love when towns make the access to the water available to the general population. to take us over to the map real quick. So apparently this is called Law Park. Let's kind of figure out where we are. So yeah, we're in the lower right area there. So you've got Monona Bay is where that other green space park is, and you can see that you've got Brittingham Park on top of it, all that green space there. There's a gentleman probably coming back with his morning quarry. It's very quiet. So even though I'm hearing the road noise to my left, you can hear the birds chirping. I don't know if you can hear the birds chirping, but I can hear the birds chirping. There's the lightest of breezes in my face, helping me not to sweat. Now that the haze is burning off, I'm seeing, you probably are not going to be able to pick it up on the camera, and I'll show you when we get up here. There's some dock space that will let us out further onto or see a better view of the lake. But you can see that there's a little town at the edge of the lake over there with a lot of building. It might be residential. I can't really tell from here, but there are some 2- and 3-story buildings down at the end of the lake that I can see from here. The woman that just rode by, her bike has 4 seats on it, so she's got 1 child in front of her and 2 children behind her. We've got a little red-winged blackbird down there, just flew off. Some folks fishing right here at the edge of the water. I was never much of a fisherman. It was always something you did to relax. But didn't really appeal to me. I didn't like to be out baking in the sun. I would rather be swimming, sailing, water skiing. Got some folks out here on paddleboards, stand-up paddleboards. This lake has several swimming areas. I imagine that they are lifeguarded by the municipalities. That looks easy, but the first few times you do it, I will say you get very tilty, and it's very easy to get wet. Just saw a fish jump next to them. And so on this side, you can see that I can now walk up these public stairs to get up to that terrace that we were on this morning. I'll walk around this area so that you can see the entire terrace from below, and then we'll walk up. Yeah, it was either this or you were going to have to watch me paint happy trees. And it turns out I'm a terrible artist, so you would not have enjoyed me painting happy trees. We had to just look at happy trees. earlier from up top, I showed you that there was this ski jump down here. So the water ski jump, you can still see it out there. It's got a reddish tint to it. When I was younger, that also was one of my pastimes. I couldn't slalom ski, but I could trick ski pretty well, and I could ski jump. And it's an exhilarating thing to. It's scary as heck the first few times you do it because you're on a boat going close to 35 miles an hour, and you're on water, and then all of a sudden you hit that ramp, which is not water, and then you're up in the air as a traditional like a ski jumper would be, and you come back down with a harsh landing on the water, and you've got to land it, and you get the distance. So it was an exhilarating youth. Now, one of the things that I couldn't do that most of the other skiers could do around me at that time, they were all very good barefooters as well. And I just never was able to get the barefoot skiing going. Huh, that's Nance. That's interesting. And do you know if you've got the notifications all? Oops, sorry. And I will say that I'm very opportunistic on this channel. If I'm going to be out, I'm going to be out. I've got to get better about, and my mods have reminded me that, hey, could you give me a little notice when you're going live? And my response so far has been, apparently not. And I'm not trying to make their lives harder, but this morning, my wife, we're enjoying a kind of a vacation, so she sleeps in. I don't sleep very long. I say, hey, you know what I can do? So we're out here seeing the city. I just want to make sure you keep you on your toes there, Fuzzy. So one thing you'll notice about this, so I'm going to go with, they've done it for safety reasons, that somebody probably still does a show here. And there was a world famous, it's called the Tommy Bartlett Water Ski Show. And that's usually over in the Dells, but they will travel. That this jump is probably owned by the municipality, but you can see at the top of it, there is a fence across the top. So they definitely, by the way, that would be very bad if you tried to jump that right now. That fence will not move, and you will get very, very well harmed in that process. But it looks like they kind of keep that locked up, and you either need to be an event doing the water skiing there, or you've got the city itself is restricting the ability to ski jump unless you've got permitting, I would guess. All right, do you want to walk out of, do you want to walk up the stairs with me and get the high view? I'm drinking a coffee the whole time, so I've just now disposed of that. Oh, I don't want the elevator. I want the exercisey thing. So folks, you're going to see about 5 floors of stairs. The view won't change too much. Ooh, can you hear a distinct change in the voice? Because I'm sure it echoes in here right now that I've got the sound bouncing off the walls. See if I can keep you over on the window side. There's a mechanical side on the inside of this. Hey, J-Bot. Hopefully I'm able to get you to wake up to some very nice, quiet serenity with my monotone voice. Which level are we? We are on level 3 of 6. Getting my morning steps in. The watch already did kind of go off saying, hey, you've done plenty, knock it off. This sign is odd because notice that it says you are here in level 5, but it's incorrect because we're between levels. Level 4 is down there, and level 5 is up here. I want to talk to the sign makers. I see what you did there, Fuzzy. So this is kind of neat. The Hilton Hotel is down this little causeway. So, right, we've walked up the stairs, or you could have taken the elevator up here. And the Hilton is at the end of this causeway. I want to see if I can get out here. And now we're at the lower level. There's one more level up. There was an event going on this morning. I'll see if that's still going on up there. But now we're on the Monona Terrace. Monona Terrace. Yep. Mana. Mana. So on the other channel, right, we've got SP Chef. And I just always want to say Swedish Chef. Howdy. Is it blocked off up there still? Okay.
Yeah.
Both sides? Okay.
You can go to the west side, or you can go the elevator to the east side.
Okay.
But the middle is.
Sounds good. Thank you. So they do have an event going on here, but we can get up and we can get a view of the lake. And right, this morning we toured the state capitol, and you can see a little bit of the farmers market and the people down there at the bottom. Something that's a Chicago relationship to up here. If you're ever in Chicago along the Chicago River, oh darn it, not Walgreens, not Marshalls, one of the retailers, and I can't for the life of me, not Sears, not JCPenney's. It was one of the catalog retailers. They've got a beautiful place along there, but there's a statue at the top of it, and it points to Wisconsin because after the Great Fire, we needed a great deal of wood to rebuild the city of Chicago, and there's a beautiful, gold tone shadow of a Greek goddess, and she is pointing north to show that's where we were able to rebuild it, or how we were able to rebuild the city of Chicago. Thank you. Yes, Montgomery Wards.
Should we surprise him? Here.
And if you ever take the river tour, Montgomery Wards has a bunch of bays that open onto the river because the river was a cheap transportation mechanism. And it was the warehousing, manufacturing and warehousing came out of that space. And that was one of the ways that they were able to get into their transportation modes. Another stupid fact that nobody really cares about. You can see just barely top of a white dome in the middle of the picture over there on that park and some open green space. If you ever run the Ragnar series of races, which you get together with 11 of your closest friends and you run 200 miles, each of you doing a relay. This is where it used to be called the Madison Chicago 200, but now it's called the Ragnar the Chicago Ragnar. But that is the starting point of the Chicago Ragnar. And we'll give another can up here. Close your eyes, you're going to get the sun pretty harsh over here. This fall, I am going to do another Ragnar. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I typically don't do things the normal way. I have always done Ragnar's where you're allowed to have 12 people, but we usually do it with teams of like 6, and we're competitive, and we tend to win either our groups if we're doing co-ed, or win them outright. And this fall, I will be doing the Bourbon Trail, which is in Kentucky. And I will say that it's going to be much more of a social event than a racing event for 2 reasons. One, Kentucky has an awful lot of rolling hills, and being the bourbon version of, I am sure that most of the people in the van, by the way, we will have drivers, but that there will be some partaking of bourbon, which does make it hard to be a competitive runner. Jen, the woman that you're speaking about, she's a fascinating woman, but at one point in time, she was, I think it was one of the top 5 or top 6 distances ever. She's run 104, at that time, she had run 143 miles in one 24-hour period of time. Since, I will say that women's ultra running has exploded lately, and historically, and again, these are hasty generalizations. I don't really need the flame war, but that historically, you ran up to the marathon when you were younger. So you ran your 5Ks, 10Ks when you were younger, and then when you could no longer be competitive, that you kind of graduated into ultra running and did that. Nowadays, people are adopting ultra running much younger, so the records are just dropping like crazy. Similar to Chicago, I definitely saw an awful lot of artwork here. See if we can get a picture of that. All right. Folks, I think the missus is up and ready to go walk around town. So thank you for spending the morning with us. By the way, that is one of the most fun things to do, to watch people at an ultra and to help. I'm a big fan of the spirit of volunteerism, and you volunteer to do these things, and you're helping somebody out in that space. But when you think about speed runners, the 10Ks, the 5Ks, the marathoners, you might take water, a goo, something like that. One of the most awesome things about ultra running is that when you come to an aid station in ultra running, somebody might be grilling pork chops, and you as an ultra runner, you're going to eat a pork chop and then go run the next 20 miles. So, yeah, how about it? So, Fuzzy, in that situation, is any of the bourbon going to make it to the participants? All right, folks. Thank you for spending the morning with us. If you're still here, like, subscribe, share it out. I'm definitely looking to figure out if we can grow this channel. I enjoy this. Again, there's so much less controversy over here. I still am emphatic about some of the other channels I do, and I really don't want to cross advertise that direction, because I think that it can be triggering for some. But this is Windy Wanders the City, and I appreciate you spending your morning with me. All right, you guys all take care, and I will see you on our next show.